Hivin and Vibin with Dr. Bibi.
And today we have with us Mike Perlow. Mike helps brands run video storytelling into a strategic business asset. With 20 plus years in broadcast, creative strategy, and digital marketing, Mike leads teams that merge story, technology, and strategy to drive measurable brand impact. From courtside with the Boston Celtics to global boardrooms with Dell Technologies, Mike spent the past 2 decades turning stories into strategic business assets. As president and founder of Perlow Productions, Mike leads a multidisciplinary team of producers, videographers, animators, editors, and live stream specialists who help brands translate complex ideas into powerful visual narratives, from corporate campaigns to broadcast event live streams. Mike's foundation in broadcast journalism, including years as a sports anchor and reporter at NESN, taught him how to engage audiences and build emotional connection in seconds. That same storytelling instinct now shapes every creative decision Mike makes for clients across industries. Wow, we have a lot of things to discuss here today. Very, very interesting topics. And I am here welcoming Mike Perlow again to Hivin and Vibin with Dr. Bibi. How do you lead?
Thanks so much. Great to be here with you. And I probably should have given you a shorter, simpler introduction. That was a lot.
No, that's absolutely fine because I get to then delve into a whole lot of things that I will start talking about. The first thing that I would like to know is how did you get involved with Boston Celtics?
Well, it wasn't just the Boston Celtics. So I worked for about 17 years as a TV sportscaster, which meant working in different cities around the country in different what we call TV markets as a sports anchor and reporter and videographer. So I would go cover games. I'd shoot footage and interviews for human interest stories that would pop up on your 6 and 11 o'clock or then 10 o'clock sportscast as part of your regular newscast in your local city. And then my last main on-air job was for NESN, New England Sports Network in Boston, that they broadcast the Boston Red Sox and Boston Bruins games, but they also cover all of the Boston sports teams. So when I was there as a reporter and anchor, I covered the Celtics, all of the teams. And so it was a great opportunity to cover teams. I grew up in the Boston area. So to cover the teams I grew up as a fan of and remain a fan of to this day. And so much of the work I did was storytelling, whether it was about a professional athlete or a high school athlete or a 6-year-old kid or whatever it may be. So that storytelling that I did for so many years as a sportscaster was one of many great tools I developed along with being a good interviewer that now serve me so well running Perlow Productions, because that's so much of what we do when we create videos, whether they're live action or animated explainer videos for clients, is storytelling about their business, their product, their service in a visually engaging way and in a way that helps hopefully drive sales, marketing strategy, even now employee recruiting. So I took the sportscasting experience and it was I never woke up one day and said, I'm going to start a business. It just kind of happened over time. And 19 years later into starting Perlow Productions, I'm still here.
So I was going to ask you, yes, you have actually started answering my next question. And I was going to ask you, how did Perlow Productions actually begin? When did you realize that, okay, so I'm going to start my own company today?
Yeah, well, like I said, I really didn't. But where it came from was before I got to Boston, I was working in a station in Fort Myers, Florida, which is a smaller TV market. And this was in like the mid to late 90s. And I started on the side a website that no longer exists, but was called getatvjob.com. And it was my first entrepreneurial effort in terms of this world. and I was helping college graduates find jobs in television. And initially it was finding jobs in production behind the scenes. And then it was more people that wanted to be like myself, on-air talent. So a news anchor, a news reporter, a sportscaster, weather, whatever it may be. I did some of that and it kind of tabled it for a while. And then once I landed my job in Boston and felt like I had more credibility, I grew Get a TV Job further. But while doing that, a lot of people that wanted to be on-air talent came to me to create a demo reel that would show their on-air work. So then we were shooting and editing segments for them and putting together a demo reel they could send to TV stations to apply for on-air jobs. And from that came other opportunities where we created TV commercials for local businesses and other video content. And I said, well, I need somewhere to put this on the Get a TV Job site. So I created a section of the site. And I said, well, Perlow Productions, that's good alliteration. So there's a section of the Get a TV Job website called Perlow Productions. And then fast forward a few years to when I eventually was transitioning out of broadcasting and started to do Perlow Productions full time. So eventually we created a full website that now exists for perlowproductions.com. So I joke that the mother grew out of the child, because now Perlow Productions is the main company. Get a TV Job kind of, sentimentally is still sort of our media training division, but Perlow Productions is really the main company now. And so again, like I joke that if I ever wrote a book about my career, I'd title it The Unintentional Entrepreneur, because I never woke up saying, I'm starting a business today. My dad was a physician. I was never going into medicine, but he also had a great head for business. And I think I definitely got that from him. Definitely could never book smart enough to be a physician. But, and I really I love the business aspect of it. I've learned so much over the years, but I still my first love is still the creative, which is what we do. But running the business has allowed me to try different things and, choose who we work with. I've only had to, fire a few clients over the years, very few. But I've learned so much about business operations, about client communication, about quoting projects, every aspect of running a business. Still make lots of mistakes, but feel like 19 years later, I'm doing a lot more things right than I was when I started. And I love it. I mean, still at my heart, it's still the creative work that we do, but being able to run my own company and like when I worked in television, I was always an idea person, but I very often wasn't able to take my ideas and execute on them because higher ups just were like, we want to do something else. Now I feel like I almost always have that opportunity because, first of all, clients love it when I come to them with new and different ideas. And I say to them, listen, if you don't like my idea, that's fine, but I'm at least going to put it out there and then you can decide whether you like that direction or not. So, like I said, but I will mention that looking back on kind of like my childhood and young adulthood, I think I always was very entrepreneurial. I just didn't realize it, or maybe that word back then didn't mean what it does to so many young people today, right? Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur today. I mean, when I was a kid, I had my own videotaping business at the age of 13, where I would videotape weddings and bar mitzvahs. I even had my own business cards for it. I collected baseball cards and comic books, and I would go to trade shows and conventions and set up a table and sell things at the shows. Other things over the years. So I think I was always kind of entrepreneurial, even the Get a TV Job business, right? So I just don't think I ever realized what it was till I was truly running my own company. So
I was going to ask you, how did you discover your entrepreneurial streak? So now I'll ask you, when was the first, at what age did you actually first put up your, whatever stall or, a thing that you sold or you did something? What was your age?
So I think, well, unless you include the lemonade stands that we set up at the top of our street.
Let's
so that would be,
that.
I mean, honestly, when I was probably 9 or 10, I don't know exactly, because I had 2 younger brothers, probably 9 or 10 or 11, we lived at the bottom of a hill. Today you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't, because we lived at the bottom of a hill. At the top of the hill on a main street through our town, we would set up selling lemonade. We'd get I don't know, bagels and muffins and stuff, and we would sell there on the corner to anybody that came by, and we did that all the time. so I think that was one of the first entrepreneurial things I can think of. But I would say the first real legit was when I started my own videotaping business in like 1982, 1983, where we would, go and shoot and edit videos for weddings, bar mitzvahs, parties, things like that.
Yeah.
And, the funny thing was, I mean, I still have a few of the recordings from that. It was awful. The work was awful, but it was so much better than anybody could do themselves back then, right? So it was awful to me. It was better than anybody could have done themselves, and I probably charged, a couple $100 when a professional company probably would have charged much more back then. So, but it was more, talking from the entrepreneurial side, like starting my own business, coming up with a name, creating business cards, right? Things like that, which I was doing at like, 13. So again, didn't think of it as entrepreneurial back then, but it certainly was.
And what would make you do that? Like some people would do it, just for their economic reasons or whatever. What was your reason for doing it? Why did you start? Why would you do it?
I don't know. I mean, quite frankly, I did not need for anything financially. I was very blessed in that way. So it wasn't like I needed to make money to, pay my bills or live or whatever, right? So it certainly wasn't that. I think it was my love for creative even then. And I knew I had this skill that others didn't. And I wanted to use it beyond my own fun home videos. And I saw that people, this was the early 1980s, people wanted video of their parties and celebrations. And there were either like much more expensive options or people like me. And my mother was also an event planner. So some of the jobs I got were through her clients, but then I got business through other people as well. But yeah, I think it was just a way to use my creative skills and make some money doing it. I guess was the best answer. But it's hard to think back to when I first did it. I think I was entrepreneurial, but I didn't realize that's what it was at the time.
Okay, so now coming to your stint with Dell Technologies, how did that begin, and why did you shift from Boston Celtics or from sports to technology?
Well, Dell Technologies has just been one of our many clients over the years with Perlow Productions.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just a client. I didn't work. I was an employee. But it's a great example of how a smaller company can gain a very large client, right? So I had a good friend from college who was a fraternity brother, and I stayed in touch with. And he worked for a long time in marketing at a company called EMC. It was a data storage company. And we did some small videos for them. They're based in Boston. Did some small videos for them. And eventually, EMC was acquired by Dell Technologies. And so we continued to do some more work with them. And then one day he called me and said, "Hey, Mike, I want to introduce you to some guys in a division here. It's called VxRail. They're looking to do these animated opens for some videos they're doing." Had a conversation. We were already doing some amazing animation work. And they hired us for the project. And as we were working on the animation, I knew that they were going to be shooting these live action segments of the videos as well. And I said, if you're happy with this, I'd love to discuss doing the rest of the production. And we blew them away with our animation. And they hired us to do the rest of the video. And we did, I think there were like 4 or 5 videos. We came to their offices outside of Boston and shot those and edited the whole thing. And that began 4 or 5 years of a lot of work with them. And they were our biggest client for probably, 5-6 years. Unfortunately, when the pandemic hit, it hit tech companies hard. But we did a lot of internal sales training videos. We did customer-facing content. We did some work around augmented reality and virtual reality. And so, that came from a referral from a friend. But as I always say, somebody gets you in the door, but it's what you do once you get that foot in the door that really matters. And we knocked it out of the park the first time, and we continued to do work that they loved, every time. And it brought some amazing opportunities to us, introduced us to some new partners. And to this day, we've worked with a lot of large technology companies, pharmaceutical, healthcare, manufacturing companies, hotel brands. So, we can say we've worked with everything from an area credit union to big tech giants to everything in between. And we still do in 2026.
Lovely. So what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of diverse industries that you cater to. A
Correct.
whole lot of diverse industries. Does it really matter as to, does it really matter if you have diverse industries, or do you have to adapt yourself to something to be able to do that? Is there any difference in the way you service different industries?
Well, I would say at a high level, creative video marketing is creative video marketing, right? But I would say that everything from the way the voice of a video to the target audience of a video to the things you need to show and tell and explain in the video do differ from industry to industry. And some industries are much more kind of straightforward and kind of straight man approach. Others like the use of humor or more creativity. We've created original animated characters for brands, kind of out of the Geico Gecko mold of things. We did that for a credit union, for other industries that would not want to go in that direction. We bring drone videography into some productions, others don't have a need for it. So, but what I will say is that the big differentiators between Perlow Productions and other video production and animation agencies is, yes, we create videos that look and sound amazing, but we do a lot of work with our clients around the whole strategy behind it. I ask a lot of questions long before we start shooting or producing a video of, who is your target audience? How do you speak to them? What are the key things you want them to know from this video? Is there a certain call to action or something you want them to do once they watch the video? What makes you unique from your competition? Because I find a lot of times when people put their sales and marketing strategy together, whether it's video, website, print collateral, they're speaking more to why you need what they do instead of what they should be answering, which is when you need what they do, why you should hire them or buy their product or service. So in our case, we certainly do videos about the impact of video on sales and marketing. But when we put those out there, we're kind of technically helping our competition as well, because we're really saying you need video to enhance your sales and marketing. Our most effective video and sales and marketing content says, when you need high quality, well strategized video, here is why companies turn to Perlow Productions. So we try to do the same thing for our clients, which is create content that speaks to why, when you need what they do or sell or provide, you should go to them. And that's not easily done. And I will tell you that when I ask clients why your customers choose you, they either can't answer the question well, or they answer, well, our pricing is good, or we treat them like they're our only customer, or whatever. And I say, like, let's dig deeper. And it oftentimes is a hard question for them to answer. And so my advice very frequently is, here's what I'd like you to do. Pick up the phone. Don't email them. Don't text them. Pick up the phone. Call a dozen of your clients and say, listen, when you were first exploring X, whatever you needed from us, I'm sure you looked at other options. What is it that made you choose us? And what makes you continue to choose us? And be very honest. If it's, we gave you the cheapest price, if, you were friends with the owner, if, whatever it is. And those answers are so valuable when it comes to creating video content, because we integrate that information into the messaging.
Great. I get that. Now, what I would like to understand here is the very basis of Perlow Productions, or the work that you do, is storytelling. When you started with with working with Boston Celtics, or with your Perlow production work that you do with Perlow Productions, a common thread is storytelling.
Correct.
So how do you design your story? What do you do to make your story different from other stories?
Well, I mean, a couple things. So, one of the skills I brought from my TV reporting days is being a really good interviewer. And so I enjoy, like, if you watch any of the thousands of videos in our website portfolio, I'm the one that was literally sitting there, much like you're interviewing me, interviewing every person who we hear from in a video. Because I'm very good at, first of all, putting people at ease during an interview when there's a camera in front of them, and B, asking them very conversational questions that elicit answers that are actually meaningful. And so that's a big key to creating a strong story, is having sound bites from interviews that are actually meaningful and just don't speak very blandly and generically about the company. So So it starts with being a great interviewer and asking great questions, and then having the ability to go through the interviews that we've recorded and pull out the sound bites that help really tell that story best. So I literally go through, we log all of the interviews after we've shot them, and then I personally go through and pick the sound bites that I then give to our editor to put together to help create that narrative, that voiceover, and then we share it with the client, make sure they're happy with it. But that's really the basis of any video that is storytelling. And then there are some videos that don't include interviews, but are telling stories through voiceover, through on-camera text, on-screen text, I'm sorry, or other ways, or through animation. And again, it's making sure we're telling that story so people see it and hear it and understand what's going on. And I would say that, when I watch a video we're working on, I watch it and make sure that I come through clearly understanding what's being said. And that's my key. Like, I don't want anybody watching a client production and saying, like, I don't get it, or what do they really do, right? And that's such a huge thing to me, because I watch so many videos today that are so high level or use so much industry jargon that the average person has no idea what they're talking about. And so, even with animation, when people hear animation, they very often think we must just do cartoons. And we do cartoony animation, but we do a ton of very technical animation, whether it's for a medical device or a software company or a financial solution. We just did one for a graduate school that wanted to explain a fairly complex training program that they're offering. So it's, I think the proof is in the pudding, as they say. If you watch our videos and the stories they tell, it could be a nonprofit fundraising video. It could be a business with a storefront. It could be a large company that's global. It's, telling stories that resonate with the viewer and that target audience.
So with this, then the question that comes in my mind is about yourself, about you, the person, because it's you, the person, who actually influences, whether it was your entrepreneurial attempts in the beginning of, in your childhood, or your stint as a sports correspondent, or your own productions and what you've been doing. What are those principles that you have always practiced and followed?
You got a couple hours? I think, like, it sounds corny, but attention to detail is a big thing for me. And that's whether you're writing an email, posting something on social media, or creating a video. So, I tell people all the time, there's so many little things that go into making a successful video. And some of them are things you don't know until you see them done poorly in a video. So it could be the choice of music, the choice of voiceover talent, the fonts you use in on-screen text. If you're doing something with a company logo, making sure you are using all of their right branding assets and colors and fonts within even their own branding. When I'm at the end of a video, I sometimes see where editors will just cut off a music track when the video ends. There's ways either to time the music so it ends on its last note, or to fade it out gradually, little things like that. When video is shot, making sure that if we're shooting something handheld without a tripod or some other kind of stabilization device, that we're getting shots that look good, that aren't bouncing around or aren't sloppy or aren't poorly framed up. Interviews, when we shoot interviews, we take time to make sure the background looks good, to make sure the person is framed up best so they look their best, make sure the lighting is appropriate, make sure if we have a lavalier microphone on them that there's not a big cable going down the front of their clothing, that it's hidden underneath their shirt or jacket or whatever. All those little details that together make a huge difference in a successful video. So I think attention to detail is one of my big tenets in anything I do. Preparation. In college, there was a professor that talked about the 5 Ps, which stood for proper preparation prevents poor performance. And so I'm a big believer in, talking things through with my team before a shoot, before a project, communicating regularly with our client to make sure we're on the same page, that expectations are met. Very often when we're going to shoot footage on site of the client location, this is the first time they've done that and they don't really know what to expect. So really everything from recommending how people dress for interviews to here are the spaces we need. Here's the time we need for different things. Here's the time it'll take us to load in our equipment, to set up for an interview, to break down from an interview, to shoot the next thing. People will sometimes say, oh, I think this is a 3-hour shoot. And I'll say, well, what is that based on? Well, it's, we're only shooting this, this, and this. And then when I explain to them all that's involved to do it well, instead of rushing in, getting it done and leaving, a 3-hour shoot is a full day. So, and I guess that speaks to the other piece, which is, not doing something just to get it done, but spending the time to do it well. And my team, particularly our videographers, are amazing because there have been many shoots over the 19 years where I'll turn to my team, I'll say, guys, we have enough. And they'll come back to me and say, Mike, we have plenty, but we want to get these 3 other shots. And that screams commitment to me on my team, because if I'm telling them we have enough and they're still saying we want to get more, that's amazing. And that's really how we approach things. We don't say, okay, shoot till 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. We're out of here. We finish when the project's done. So I think those are a few of the tenets, great communication. And I don't mean just spoken, but like being in communication with our clients, setting expectations, never having a company call us and say, what's the status of our video? Because that just never happens with us. And if there is something that delays it, letting the client know instead of waiting till the day they're expecting and saying, oh yeah, sorry, we got backed up. Oh, and one other tenet. There's no other word that drives me more crazy than when somebody says they're busy or too busy for something. I teach my kids the same thing. Busy is a state of mind and how you prioritize things.
Exactly.
So no client or customer is ever going to hear from me, we're too busy to work with you. Even if we are, they're never going to hear that, okay? Because I don't like hearing that as a customer, and I'm never going to say that to a client or a potential client of ours. We will always find time to produce a video. If a client comes to us last minute and has very high expectations, I will say to them, frankly, we have this, this, and this going on. You've come to us very last minute. We can do this, but here's what it's going to require. And I don't even mean cost-wise, but here are the things we need to do and what we need from you in a timely manner to pull this off within a short period of time. But I don't charge rush fees or anything like that. But I really, I want to set it, because if it's a video like for a specific event date, there's no wiggle room there. That video has to be ready. So, I think those are some of the key tenets from Lemonade Stand and Bar Mitzvah Videography all the way through Perlow Productions.
Lovely. And what are those struggles that you have faced which have shaped you to be who you are today?
Nothing. It's been easy from day one and continues to be. Not a single struggle. Come on, what are you talking about?
That's lovely.
Come on, yeah.
So what were the lessons that you learned?
No, I mean, listen, business has its ebbs and flows over 19 years. Trying to predict business flow from year to year in my world is challenging, because we have years where, post Thanksgiving into Christmas can be crazy busy, as it was the end of 2025, and years when from Thanksgiving on is dead and nothing happens until middle of January. So, and over the summertime used to be a very quiet time for us. It's a time that has become much busier for us because about 10 years ago, we started shooting videos for summer camp. So those are all shot in July and August for the most part. And then we started finding other business as well. So summertime is no longer a quiet time for us. So I'd say that, knowing when business will be busier or less busy. I think communicating with clients when challenges come up, right? Where sometimes I'm dealing with somebody in marketing and they're answering to somebody higher up. And every once in a while, it hasn't happened often, but every once in a while, I think what the higher up person expected, or whatever they think of something when they see it, is maybe different than what the marketing person communicated to us. It hasn't happened often, but it's happened a few times over 19 years. And I'm a big believer in, even if it wasn't our fault or our mistake, kind of owning it and saying, listen, we obviously misunderstood what your goal was here. How can we make right by this, right? But sometimes, I've had a few times over the years where literally a project is essentially approved, and then somebody higher up comes in and says, this isn't all what I was looking for. And then at that point, it's, but within reason, always try to find solutions for that. And then, I mean, I'm somebody who takes everything very personally, probably too personally at times. So there have been times where either clients who I feel like I've developed a really close relationship with over the years have suddenly turned elsewhere to do new videos. And sometimes it's just a matter of they're ready to try something new and different. But I always, take that personally. And then sometimes when you've had long extended conversations with somebody about a project and then it either falls through or they decide to go elsewhere, that's not a good feeling. But I've been on the other end of both of those situations too, where people have been with a production company for years and wanted to try something new and come to us. So it happens on both ends. But when you're the one that loses, not a great feeling. But again, it's part of doing business. Nobody wins anywhere close to 100% of the projects that they propose on. So just part of doing business.
Okay. Here, one question that struck me is how you get, as you mentioned, you get emotionally involved with certain people or
Right.
or certain business, your clients. How do you handle that? How do you handle your emotional involvement?
Well, I think for the most part, it's a positive because clients see that I care about them. They're not just a business writing us a check, right? Like there are so many times where 3 to 6 months after we've completed the project, I'll go onto a company's website or onto their social media and see how they're sharing the video. And usually it's been passed on to somebody who frankly doesn't really know what they're doing. And either it's embedded improperly or it's hiding in this really tiny corner of a page or it's hard for people to find or whatever. And so I will literally pick up the phone and call my client and say, hey, listen, I just wanted you to know this is what I'm seeing. Or there's a broken link. When people click it, they can't even watch it. Or here are some ways you could be doing this better. I know one of the things I've spoken with you in the past about is we offer a YouTube channel audit because I see so many companies out there, small and large, that have created a YouTube channel, post videos there, but are getting very little from it. And a lot of people, I think, oh, if I post it on YouTube, it's going to drive lots of business. Well, you can't just drop videos into YouTube and think it's going to generate business. And most businesses have issues with their YouTube channel, ranging from literally the way the homepage is laid out to the way they upload their videos, the way they title the videos, the content they write up as information about the videos, the way they tag their videos, the way they embed the videos from YouTube on their website. There's so many things. And so we do this YouTube channel audit. It's a $250 fee where I literally, it's kind of going under the hood of a car. I go in the back end of your YouTube channel and look at everything that's done, not done, or needs to be done differently, and come up with a whole assessment that I then share with the person on a Zoom call. We go through it all. And then one of the things I offer as part of that assessment is I fix one of the videos that's there. I basically will go in, update the title, all the information, the keywords, the tags, all of those things to get it better structured for YouTube. But then there's usually a lot of other things that need to be done based on this audit, many of which the client can do. We offer to do it as well. Some of it is more easily done by somebody else than other elements of it. One example I'll give you is I worked with a business owner recently, and her YouTube channel was her name. And I said to her, I said, for SEO purposes, nobody that is searching for what you do is searching your name, right? You're not a celebrity. It's not, it's not Tom Hanks business, right? It's Sally Smith business. So first of all, let's start by coming up with what you want to name your YouTube channel. Probably your company name would make the most sense, or something with your company name, right? So that's one thing we talked about. And then even the topics of the videos, the titles that go on YouTube, very often it'll say, like if I posted this podcast on our YouTube channel and it just said Mike Perlow podcasts with Dr. Bibi, nobody's going to find it. Nobody's searching. I mean, maybe they're searching me if they know me, but anybody that's looking for video production help isn't searching your name or mine, right? So the title needs to connote something of video production, creative marketing, something, right? So that's again where we work with people on those YouTube channel audits. And you can have no YouTube channel. You can have a YouTube channel with one video. This can apply to any company's YouTube channel, small or large. And if it's something they're interested in, they can certainly contact me at Perlow Productions about them.
You were talking about your team coming up and suggesting, like, Mike, we are not ready to wrap up yet. We think we need 3 more shots and things like that. How do you train your team, or how did you choose your team, or what do you do so that your team starts responding in this manner to you?
Well, I would say it's more choose than train. A little bit of training, but more choose. I mean, when I relocated to the South Jersey, Philly area in 2007, and really was when I more formally started Perlow Productions, I knew very little people in the region. Moved here from the Boston area, so I, slowly started to find videographers, editors, animators, and over the years, I've, worked once or twice with some. There are some that have worked with me from almost day one and still work with us. And you pretty quickly get a sense of somebody's work ethic, but also their creative capabilities. So there are some people that worked with us who were really fun people to work with, but just weren't that great at what they did. And then there's others. I mean, I had one guy, tell the story often, a videographer editor who worked with us about, I don't know, 5 years ago now. He was really good, very talented videographer, very talented editor, but he was a nightmare to work with. And so he did one project. It's a project that remains in our portfolio to this day, but he never worked with us again because he was extremely difficult, to the point where on location during our shoot, and I'm one that like gives a lot of rope to my creative team and let them do their thing. I'm a big believer in that. I was giving him a few suggestions, as I always do. Like, that's part of what I like to do, and my crew appreciates it. He literally turned to me in the middle of the shoot in front of the client and said, "Don't tell me how to do my job." And I just kind of bit my tongue. But after that project, we were done. To me, I look for people who are really good at what they do, but also fun, easygoing, collaborative people who can take feedback, suggestions, creative, constructive criticism, as I do. Like, I welcome it too. Like, I'd say to my team, like, if you don't like my idea, tell me that and tell me what you think is a better approach. I don't feel like I know the best way. So I really look for people that I enjoy working with, because that also means our clients enjoy working with them. That's one of the biggest compliments I get, particularly on productions. Sometimes I'm not on site for the shoot, and my client will say, "Oh, it was great working with Dave or Tony or Ash or Chris," or, and I love hearing that, because that tells me that with me not even being there, my team is giving the client a great experience. And, I mentioned we do work with summer camps. So that's a very sensitive environment, right? Where youth, young children, and in the early days of shooting those videos, our clients sometimes would even do background checks on my team for safety purposes. And one of the things I'd say to them is, listen, the men and women that come on these shoots in particular are men and women. At that point, my kids were younger. Are men and women I would trust with my own children. And if I wouldn't bring them on this kind of production. Right. And I genuinely felt that way. Like, there were some people, not that any others weren't good people, but like, there's certain ones who I knew really, really well. And I knew, like, they are 100% great people, no concerns ever to have in a youth environment. And that was, that's important to me as well. So yeah, it's like, that's one of the biggest differences between running your own company and being an employee, right? You run your own company, you get to choose the people you work with, both as employees and clients. And I would say that a lot of the people that work with us also say they enjoy working with me. Like, I can be a pain in the ass sometimes, but I think they think I treat them fairly. I look out for them. I take good care of them and pay them well. And I make a big effort to let them know the great work they've done.
So what I hear is a collaborative leader who is pretty democratic as well, but at the same time adaptive too, and at the same time quite authentic at being who you are. Am I describing you the way, do you think
so.
I'm describing you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Fantastic. We'll move on to the last bit of our questions now, asking you, how do you sustain your energy? How do you sustain your leadership? How do you, because I can see the passion almost in in you. I can hear it. I can also, I love the way you lighten the all the hard work that you have done. And you mentioned that there were no struggles at all, because you don't actually feel the struggle, because you are so involved in it that it's just work for you, and you're just getting things done the way it should be done and the way you want it to be done. How do you manage to do that day in and day out? For the last 19 years you've been doing it. What do you
That's
do
a
to sustain yourself?
that's a good question. I don't know some days. No, I mean, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there have definitely been tough weeks, months, years, plenty, and I think I mean, I've always been very self-motivated, but I think, I try never to get too high or too low. So when I've had amazingly good years, my goal is my feeling at the end of the year is never, oh, I'm so proud of all we've done. I mean, I am proud of what we've done, but it's more, okay, how can we top this? How can we do, and not just even in like business revenue, but even with videos. So if we do videos one year, what can we do better next time within the same industry or other industries? What new technology can we bring in? So I think it's constantly trying to improve. But then, every once in a while you have a tough week, month, or year, and it kind of kicks you in the butt and reminds you, yeah, don't be so high and proud of yourself, because you know what? You haven't figured it all out, right? And listen, I'd rather never have that, but I don't think any business, no matter how successful, doesn't go through that. And so I think that's really it um, is when things are going great, to be humble about it, and when things are going poorly, to keep it in perspective. I joke with my teenage boys, or older teenagers now, that people will never know whether my company's crushing it or getting killed. And I once said the same thing to them, like, you don't need to worry as my sons whether I'm doing really well financially or going through a tough time. And my older son turned to me at that point. He was like, I don't know, 17. He said, "Yeah, but Dad, you're doing well, right?" And I said, "That's exactly my point." I said, I don't want people out there, and you shouldn't either have to worry about it. But people out there, like, people will. We try to put out a presence there with our social media and posting about our projects. I want people to always feel like we're crushing it, we're crazy busy, as we are often. But the reality is, nobody's crazy busy and crushing it every day, every week, every year, right? But I don't go around, oh, woe is me, when things are slower. And I don't go around bragging when things are crazy good. When I started my business back in 2007, which was, when our economy went in the tank in the US, I would go to networking events, and it was like walking through a cemetery. Everybody was so, oh, woe is me, and the world is coming to an end. For me, it was like I'd land a project, and it was, $2,000 more than I made last year. So to me, any work was an improvement. But having gone through a more recent recession in the U.S. and seeing business kind of up and down, I really pride myself in, holding my chin up and not letting people know when things are better or worse. Because I also don't feel it necessary to, like, I never say publicly we had our best year ever financially. I will brag about the clients we're working with and the projects we've done and the videos we've created and the impact it has. But I don't ever, when people ask me, how's business? It's great. Here's this, last month was tougher. This month's better. We're working on this. We're doing that. We're going after this. And I just think in general, like, who wants to work with somebody who's always kind of a Debbie Downer? Nobody does in any walk of life, right? So, I mean, you too, like, you bring a lot of passion and energy to what you do, and that's what attracts people to talk to and work with you. So, that's, people want to work with people that make them feel good about themselves, and good about working with them. So that's really what I try to impart.
What would be the one wisdom that you would want to share with our audience?
Well, if we're talking to business owners who are leaders of their companies, over the years, whether it was 2007 or more recently, when the economy gets tight and companies are tight with their money, the first thing to go is their marketing budget. I don't know whoever created that notion. That person should be hung out to dry. But so many companies still follow it today. And I would plead with you, the next time you're going through a slow time, or even as importantly, when business is really good, that is not the time to stop marketing. Investing in marketing is your best route to growing business and bringing in new leads and prospects. If you stop, it's that old vicious cycle of, I don't have enough business to pay for marketing, but I don't have enough business. Well, that's when, and I'm speaking from my own experience, okay? I've invested money over the years into our marketing to bring in more business. And I see the return. And sometimes the return isn't quick. Sometimes it's 6 months, a year, or more down the road. But when business is slow or when the economy is tight, that is one of the most important times to invest in marketing, and not just cheap something, like invest in quality marketing strategies that are going to bring in new prospects, whether it's video, paid search advertising, enhancing your website, all those things. Don't dump that and say, I'll fix it or put money into it when business is good again. That's the exact opposite of it's like, I'll join a gym once I've lost 30 pounds. Like, no. Join the gym, make it part of your new health routine along with eating well and exercising, and do it all now. So that would be my biggest plea, is the next time you think about slashing marketing budgets, if you have to cut it from somewhere else, honestly. That is the last place you should be slashing when times are tough.
Fantastic. I think this is a huge nugget of knowledge that we have got from you. How would you like our audience to get in touch with you? How do you think they could connect with you?
Sure. You can always reach me directly by email. Very simple. It's mike@perlowproductions.com. You can also call me. My cell and work line are one and the same. It's 856-669-1669. And then, as always, you can find us online at perlowproductions.com. If you just Google Perlow Productions, we're very well indexed in the internet. You'll find our website, our LinkedIn page, our YouTube channel, all of our social media outlets. But the best place is to come to our website, perlowproductions.com, where there's examples of our work. There's more information about our different services, even our event live streaming, which we haven't talked about. And more than anything, I say to anybody out there watching and listening, if you don't really know how to approach using video as part of your sales and marketing strategy, reach out to me. I'm always happy to spend some time, have a conversation with you, brainstorm some ideas around your business. I am not a pushy salesperson. I'm not going to say, when do you want to do a video? I'm going to share some ideas. I'll show you some examples of videos we've done for similar industries or maybe your industry, and at least give you some ideas to think about. And whether it's now or 5 years down the road, we're here. We're going to be here. And, we're based outside of Philadelphia, but we work with clients all over the country and internationally. Would love the opportunity to speak with any of your audience and help any of these businesses grow using video.
Lovely. So now we know how to get in touch with you. And wrapping up, I would really like to thank you for sharing your insights, your experiences. I loved the nugget of knowledge that you have just shared with us. And I hope this will empower my audience with all the experience and the knowledge that you have shared. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.